Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this day, 17th day of December. Got a great show with you for tonight. Maybe a little shorter than normal. I got stuck in about an hour and a half traffic longer than I expected to on the way home from work. Some kind of accidental Interstate 40. It was a nightmare. But going to give you my NFL Power Five. I know I didn't get a chance to do that last week on Wednesday because we had the Big Ten, and Rich guys on. Of course, with the Mad New Yorker, we were talking about the college football playoff that will be coming on this weekend, starting Friday night. I cannot wait. Plus, there is, speaking of college football, news about Arch Manning that I told you I expected. I told you that I expected to come about. I'll discuss that as well. Josh Allen, man, has he got the MVP? Is he now into the league there in the MVP race? I'll go over that and more. Stand by. We'll take our first and only break, and I'll be back here momentarily, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, I'm back here live. Okay. A lot of devastating things happened over the weekend as far as players are concerned. I'll start off with the Chiefs-Chargers game. That was one of the 5 biggest games of the week. Basically, it's been the story of the Chiefs all year, cannot hold leads. Although I did pick them to win this particular game. They had control over most of the game. Both teams had offensive line issues. That is well documented. I thought that Trey Smith was going to play. He did not play for the Chiefs. They could not hold a 3-point lead by the half in the third quarter, what I thought would be somewhat a low-scoring game. Both teams are, like I said, crucial offensive line injuries. Patrick Mahomes goes down in the fourth with an ACL tear, which is really the story of this particular game. I said this team has been picking towards the end of the drought since since he started back in 2018. He was drafted, Patrick Mahomes here, drafted in 2017. They went to the AFC Championship games, if you recall, lost a close game to the New England Patriots back in 2018, and the rest is history. The next year, they win the Super Bowl with the 49ers. They go on and go to 5 total Super Bowls during this run, winning 3 of them. You know, this is a heck of a run. But you look at the fact that him and Travis Kelce, I saw this earlier. I was looking this up and preparing for the program this week. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of games that they have played here. 100. Look at it this way. As of 2025, I got this on the little Google AI thing. Patrick Mahomes has played approximately 146 regular season games, 21 playoff games. You think about that. 21. There's 17 games in a regular season. Then you add 4 more, and these are not even regular season speed games. These are playoff intense 21 games. That's an extra season added on to this roster of your guys like your Chris Jones, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce. I mean, this is a really impressive run up there with the New England Patriot type of run here. At some point, you think something like this potentially happened. Uh, more than an extra season, you know, this is a good wake up call. Now they are they're eliminated from playoff contentions. First year without the Kansas City Chiefs. A few weeks ago when they lost, it was they couldn't win the division. Now they cannot make the playoffs. Okay, you look at that offensive line. I've talked about it ad nauseum. I know people get bored with offensive line talk and all that, not unless you're a true diehard like me. But the truth of the matter is that is the crust of your team. I'm here out of Nashville, and one thing, what are the Titans? 2 and I forgot what their record is now. Well, there's 17 games. They got 3 to go, and they won 2. Do the math on that. 2 and 13 or whatever. It makes no never mind. Yeah, I think 2 and 13 or 2 and 12. Got tied for the worst record in the NFL. One thing I can say about this team, their offensive line is starting to come together. They're getting pushed in a running game. Going back to Kansas City Chiefs, Brett Veach has taken shortcut after shortcut. Let Joe Thuney go last year. He's now with the Bears playing pretty well. I know he's getting long in the tooth, but he's still playing at a pretty high level with the Chicago Bears a few years ago. And I said this could be a problem, and it turned out to be. They let Orlando Brown go. Remember, they traded for Orlando Brown. They let him go. The Bengals ended up picking him up. He was doing pretty well with the Chiefs, cutting corners on that position because you got this magician there at quarterback. Now it's caught up with you, see, per se. Now, of course, they've won Super Bowls. They've got a hardware. But you look at, they'll probably draft, I don't know, 12, 15, 18, something like that. Of course, they're not going to make the playoffs, so it's going to help them better draft positions. It gives the players some time to rest and recoup. But my thing is, and like Rex Ryan said, I know he said on Get Up yesterday, I think it was on Monday, I was listening to him. They got to get in a position because of the hits that Mahomes has taken. They got to get in position. And I know Andy Reid don't like to do this, but they really had to have that air quote come to Jesus moment and say, we got to run the football. Okay. We need a power running game. And if it's up to me, I'm doing everything I can in those first 2 rounds to draft lineman, guard, tackle. If I'm remotely close to the talent position that is available. Now, I'll say this. If Jeremiah Love, the running back who just declared this week for the NFL draft, if he's on the board from Notre Dame, I'll probably take him because he's a big playmaker. And I would become a power running team. And that is more than skill players. They need a tight end. I get it. They need some help on defense. I get it. They need some help around Chris Jones. I get it. I also get the fact that they're $55 million over in the cap. If you can get a team to call for Chris Jones, and I made a note here, like a Carolina or somebody, and says, hey, I'll give you a 3rd-round pick for your 32-year-old defensive tackle there to play alongside Derek Brown because we got Bryce Young on a rookie contract. Carolina is right there in the playoff hunt right now. They win this weekend, which I think they could. They could beat Tampa. They got a leg up in potentially winning the NFC South. They're not going to get to the Super Bowl this year, but they still got Bryce Young on that rookie contract. They might as well try to stack the roster up in this offseason, and going after a guy like a Chris Jones would be nice. They're going to, of course, Kansas City will have to eat part of that contract per se. But I stacked this offensive line. We practice, and listen, they talked about this before in the offseason. Andy Reid will make changes, and he will work on certain things that need to be addressed. He's not just going to say the same thing and do the same thing over again. I know he's flexible. He said this last year when they first started the season. He said, listen, we got to work on the deep ball. They have worked on the deep ball. I saw improvement on that, getting guys like, was the guy Traquan Thornton involved and more. They had Rashid Rice miss a big chunk of games this year. I think Rice is legit. I think they need another tight end. There's talks maybe they go after Kyle Pitts. I don't know if I'd pay a lot of money. I would just, and plus you got Patrick Mahomes, tore an ACL, wouldn't likely be back till, I don't know, the start of the season, maybe 3 or 4 weeks into the season in September of next year. It's about a 9-month recovery there. But even, and the odd thing about it is Tom Brady had the same type of injury in year 9. And I recall, because I had him on fantasy in 2008 when he got that injury. Ironically, it was against the Kansas City Chiefs there. But he came back in 2009. He was still a little gun shy. He was still Tom Brady. And I think I want to say they were one and done in the playoffs. A lot of this money can get fluctuated in 27. I do think he'll play, but I'm saying they need to retool. I don't want to call it what is rebuild? Colin Cowher says they need a rebuild. Rebuild is blowing the whole roster up and getting rid of Patrick Mahomes. That's insane, okay? Patrick Mahomes got 4 or 5 good years left in him, even after this, in my opinion. He's got that kind of work ethic. If you saw the Netflix documentary when he won a Super Bowl on a high ankle sprain, he's all that, all right? Now, we hope that, if you're a Chiefs fan, you hope that Reed doesn't retire. I don't think that's going to happen. What I'm saying is Brett Veach he's forced now to take that grouping seriously and evaluate and get the best possible offensive lineman that you can via through the draft, free agency, clear up that $55 million. I'm sure Travis Kelce is going to retire this year, and you try to deal Chris Jones and go offensive lineman, and then, you fill in a tackle anywhere you can at defensive tackle. And then you look ahead to next year in 27, then I think they can go back on another Super Bowl run. That doesn't mean that they can't be competitive next year in Kansas City. You could flip over a roster with a lot of dead cap money. There's a team in their own division that's got millions, 56, the most I've ever seen in Denver with the Russell Wilson contract. Remember? They signed this guy a big chunk of money and they get rid of him. Well, they hit on Bo Nix and they've hit on all these other Bo Nix, more than that. Guys like Benito and all those players there for the Denver Broncos, they've hit on that defensive side of the ball. And now they've got the 1 seed, folks. They've got the 1 seed. So my point is, it's not the end of the world. I've mentioned it before. They need a reset year. This is a huge blessing in disguise. This is a moment where you can really focus in on your problems and fix them there. So I think they're going to be fine. I think Mahomes will play next year. I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks in the season. And now this puts the A-ball on Brett Veach, who passed up on a few opportunities to replace that left tackle position. Now he's looking at it, not just to tackle the other guard position where Tooney played at. And, of course, inside, they need to draft about 2 linemen there and let them come in and compete with the players that they already have, including Simmons, the left tackle they drafted here from Ohio State this past year, who's missed quite a bit of time for personal reasons and injuries. So that's my take on that. It was a great win by the Chargers. On the other hand, another team with 2 decimated injuries there at the tackle position. But, it was a good run. I do not think their reign is over with the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. I do think that, it's over for the Kelce side of it. But some people were taking it too far the other way, if you ask me. Okay? Big news happened today, and I'll talk about it. Tua was benched. He was benched after last night's performance. Quinn Ewers, the Texas product. Remember, he was a late draft pick. I don't know, he was like 6th, 7th round. I can't remember. Out of Texas, he was a big college prospect. Wasn't very impressed with yours at Texas personally. But, you look at, you see some of the clips that's been put out about Tua and him taking a sack when there was plenty of time to get rid of the football on Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The next morning, during a press conference, somebsomebody asked Mike McDonald, the head coach there from Miami, he said, "Hey, what do you think about it? Is there a possibility that he might not be the starter next week?" And he would not commit to that. Now today, Tua has been benched for Quinn Ewers. Listen, folks. I had Scott Morgenroth here. Scott Morgenroth here from the I think it's the South Florida Tribune. It's its own website there. He's covered a lot of Miami Dolphins games. A lot of South Florida sports. Very familiar with the situation. He's out of the Detroit area. Smart guy. I've had him on the program. I've interviewed Scott, and he said, "Listen," he said, "This was a year ago, before he signed that big contract." He says, "I would franchise him and see if I can get it one more year out of him because of the concussions Tua had. We know that Tua's limited athletically to get away from the pressure. He does not have the strongest arm. Does he get in the zone and complete 15, 20 passes in a row? They're all, yeah, but he's also undersized. It's height-wise. And, you can't be both, It's just these guys that are shorter quarterbacks, under 6 foot tall, they're all struggling. Kyler Murray gets hurt every single year. Unbelievable that the fact that he even got a second contract, the more you think about it. Even guys like Baker Mayfield struggled a lot at times here, So my thing is, looking at the size of this contract here, they're probably going to have to just keep him and just draft a quarterback either this year or next year or both, depending on where they're at and who's available and on the board. I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of Tua. Tua's contract is unbelievably big. This is what Adam Schefter put out here. Tua Tagovailoa already has $54 million guaranteed in 26 next year. On March 15th, $3 million of his 2027 salary becomes guaranteed. Cutting him would leave $99 million in dead cap money. Post June 1st cut would equal $67.4 million in dead cap money. In 26, 31.8 in 27. In other words, if you cut him after June 1st, basically what it does, it'll spread it out to 2 years and give you some more flexibility on your cap space. I just mentioned the fact that this happened with the Russell Wilson situation, and Dolphins are in the 1 seed right now. Our Dolphins, the Broncos are in the 1 seed right now. So it is possible to do it. It's not impossible. My thing is, if you look at Tua over the past few years, he would be an ideal backup quarterback. I mentioned the fact he could be an expensive insurance policy like a Kirk Cousins was. Maybe they should have used him a little sooner. Was to Michael Penix here with the Atlanta Falcons, if you can't find a trading partner. But why would you want to cut a guy like that? I think he'd be valuable to your team. Not unless he becomes a problem. He doesn't come off as a type that would become a problem in the locker room. It's all food for thought. It's food for thought. But that's just the realization of this thing. Basically you're stuck with him for 2 years, go the drafting route, or you can cut him and then tank out. But, I don't know if they want to do that. They've got a good running game. They should continue the offensive line, build up, continue building up the defense, and see what happens. I think they're probably going to give, because of this surge they had towards the end of the season, Mike McDonald will probably get 1 more year per se. He'll get one more year, give him a chance to possibly work with another quarterback. You know, the LSU quarterback, was it Oswald or whatever, Nussmeier, and of course Kubnik, real high stock at the beginning of the season, fell down. Now I'm hearing that they might not even be first round prospects. Well, maybe a Dolphins can get them in the second or third round, one of those two players. Maybe a Carson Beck right in your own backyard, playing at the University of Miami. What if he interviews well with McDonald? Maybe the Dolphins pick him up, bring him in, and let him and Tua fight it out for the starting position in training camp. It's all food for thought, you know? Okay? So Sunday, I'm bouncing around, folks. No particular order. I'm spitballing, like my man said. Like my man from from Buffalo. What's that? Rostano, John Rostano. I'm sorry, John. I'm trying to do 4 or 5 things at once. Okay. Very impressive. I just talked about Denver 2 or 3 times now here at the beginning of the program. Now, Broncos. Last week, Denver played Green Bay. I picked Green Bay. Green Bay looked very solid at the beginning of this game. 2 teams, playoff teams. People saying, well, could this be a Super Bowl? Yeah, possibly, yeah. And hey, one of the best Super Bowls I've ever seen was Green Bay and Denver. Brett Favre versus John Elway. One of the absolute, you younger kids, if you can go back and watch highlights of that Super Bowl or like a recap or something like that on Google or not Google, on YouTube or whatever, one of the better ones. 2 Hall of Famers going at it, you know. Very high-scoring game, very good game. But anyways, Denver and Green Bay played, and, you know, most of this game looks great for Green Bay. I want to say they're up 23-14 at one point. Then we see Micah Parsons or Christian Watson go down for Green Bay. And then Denver comes back, scores a touchdown, cuts it to 2. And now we're going into the 4th quarter. And, of course, Micah goes down, tears his ACL. We found out later. And, of course, we know what happened. They went from being down by 2, up by 2, Green Bay, to down by 8, and that being the final score. A couple big throws there by Bo Nix. And now, like I said, they're the number 1 seed in the AFC. Very big win. Mad New Yorker sending me text messages. I told you Bo Nix never quit. Well, yeah, I get it, you know. But I think about a guy like a Bo Nix and his 4th quarter comebacks. Although, like I said, they've had a lot of lucky bounces. Sometimes, you know, like the great race car driver, my dad always reminds me of this, Richard Petty would say, I'd rather be lucky than good any day. But Bo Nix, NFL record, 8 4th quarter comebacks in the first 2 seasons. That's the first 2 seasons. Let's not get crazy here. But still, the most by any quarterback as of November, and I'm sure there's more than this now, but I found this offline, led the league in 4th quarter comebacks with 4, with 5 at one point contributing to many of the Broncos' close wins. They had a historic comeback in Week 7. The Broncos scored 33 points in the 4th quarter, overcoming a 19-0 deficit in the game that showcased the ability to rally the team. Clutch play versus the Chiefs back in November. He had a big throw there. I say all this to talk about Bo Nix. You know, Bo Nix, if you saw Bo Nix in college, a lot of you did, like myself, watch a lot of college football. About year 3, when he was still playing with the Auburn Tigers there in college, I would say, if you ask me, what do you think this guy's a pro prospect? I'm not a scout per se, but I say just by looking at this guy, he'll be lucky to get drafted. And if he is drafted, he's a backup at best. Okay. Then you go over to a team like an Alabama and look at a Jalen Hurts, same situation. I said this, and listen, anybody watches the film can say it. Jalen Hurts could not make his second read at Alabama. Now, you're talking about a guy that is flooded with talent there at Alabama. Best defensive players, best offensive players, I mean, big-time receivers, you name it. And he struggled to make his second read. We all know he was benched, I want to say, in 2018 National Championship for Tua and beat out. And Tua makes the big plays. They win a championship over Georgia. He transfers to Oklahoma. I'm still, not like everybody else, goes to the great Lincoln Riley, who is the quarterback whisperer, and I'm still not impressed with Jalen Hurts. The guy goes in the second round to Philadelphia, and I'm thinking to myself, that's a wasted pick. There were reports that Jalen Hurts was going to be used like Taysom Hill with the New Orleans Saints, you know, like the gadget player, the guy who's a quarterback, maybe use him as a guy that, you know, line up at tight end, use some kind of wildcat stuff because he's in very good shape. Like that's because they still had Carson, not Carson Palmer, maybe I forgot the guy, Carson Wentz at the team at that time. And both of these guys have persevered. We know Hurts has got Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl championship, second big contract. And Bo Nix goes from that guy I was just talking about in Auburn to now a guy who got drafted in the top, 10, I think, 6, 7 from the Denver Broncos, and now leading them with all these comebacks. They were in the playoffs last year. Now they look to be a 1 seed. And one thing those two players have in common, both of their dads are coaches, you know, and both of them had to transfer. Nix transfers from Auburn to Oregon, and Hurts transfers from Alabama to Oklahoma. Okay, both dads coaches. Dads tell you one thing, like a coach, don't be a victim. Work your butt off. Do what the coaches say, and good things will happen. That's a coach talk to you. They're talking to their sons like players and not like their son. Well, that's what I would tell my son. Nobody owes you nothing. You're not a victim. Quit blaming all the coaches. If you know you can play, put the work in, and good things will happen. You know, and both of those players, and I still stand by that, right at their ceiling. Right at there. But, you know, when you got that willpower and that work ethic that has been instilled in you by Coach Dad, good things happen. Joe Burrow's dad's a coach. His dad was a defensive coordinator like Ohio University. Joe Burrow, folks, if you don't recall, he also transferred from Ohio State to LSU and got 2 full years there. We know what happened there. Number 1 pick. I mean, this guy's ceiling's like Montana and everybody, by the way. So Joe Burrow's saying now that he don't know if he's going to be with Cincinnati in the future. So things look a little bleak there. But my point is that can now be a big plus in the interview room for players going forward. Dad being a coach. Now, it worked against Shedeur Sanders, whose dad it technically is a coach and a former player, Deion. But hey, his dad, those guys' dads wouldn't say, my son's not going to play for certain teams, you know, unlike what Deion was putting out there. But that is a big, big element there. That dad is a coach. Dad's pushing you. Dad's not telling you how great you are. You know, when I was playing Pee-wee football at 11 years old, living with my dad, and, you know, the guy's dad that was the coach there, the quarterback, was horrible. I mean, with 11-year-olds, you know, he put him in there because it's his son. He wants son to play quarterback. And And I thought, well, if this is the whole dad being the coach thing, these guys aren't going to turn out to be that good. The dad just trying to live vicariously through his kid. His kid's not that good. There's other kids on the team that could have played it. They had me. I had the best hands on the team, and I was sitting there playing on the defensive line. And I asked the coach, I said, well, I can't believe it. He's already got those players. I said, well, I'm better than them. And he said, you're not. Well, I was, but I didn't like playing football and hit anyway, so I ended up quitting. But I thought after that experience, one thing I should have played it all the way through. If I had to do over, I would have stayed. Of course, seeing it all the way through, just like Archie Manning told Eli and Peyton and Archie's dad that you need to stick with. No matter what you sign up for, you got to finish it. You don't have to stay with it afterwards, but if I sign you up for something, you got to finish it out. But that's dad being a coach, I thought that was he's a great story. Bo Nix is a very interesting story. I don't think people realize what kind of underdog he was or looked at as coming out of college. But it's a good inspirational story. There's stories like that all over the NFL. I've had Julian Nerick on the program. He's a 3-star player here out of Nashville. I had him back on in April. I may bring Julian back on here before the end of the year, or at the end of the year, right? Here in the next few weeks, maybe sometime around the 1st of January, bring Julian on and interview him and see where he's at. But I noticed that his scholarship fell through at Miami, Ohio, and he's still looking around for some other places to get that scholarship. I may run that story by him and motivate that young man. He's very good and a very good interview and smart guy, well ahead of his years. But I just thought that was an interesting story about the Bo Nix situation. Okay, speaking of the Mannings, as I transition, actually, you know what? I'll go to the Mannings here in a little bit. We've been talking about the NFL. Didn't want to forget my NFL Power 5. Bears, listen, another big win for the Bears last week. Blew out Cleveland Browns. Now with the tearing of unfortunately, with the injuries of the Green Bay Packers, which I'm not sure they're even a Super Bowl team right now. They're not in my Power 5, unfortunately. I just got to call balls and strikes. But my NFL Power 5 starting now, I've got the Bears at number 5. Getting healthy and playing well at the right time. I mentioned Micah Parsons and Christian Watson hurt again. These guys play Saturday. Green Bay and Chicago will play Saturday. That's going to be a big one. Really like Chicago in that particular game, even though I don't know if Rome Odunze is going to play. But the Bears playing really well at the right time. Have developed into a power running team. DeAndre Swift, 3 rushing touchdowns the last 3 games, 925 yards. You think about Caleb Williams throwing the ball over the field and all this, but you got DeAndre Swift, 925 yards. Add on another 681 to Kyle Mungai. 5 rushing touchdowns for him. Defensively, Bears, like I said, got Jalen Johnson back a few weeks ago, giving up 38 points the last 3 games combined. That's pretty good, considering the fact that they played Green Bay and Philadelphia. Just dominating the time of possession games here. I got them at number 5, getting hot at the right time. My man John Restano, big Bears fan, has got to be on cloud 9. They're number 5 in my Power 5, I think for the first time this season. Number 4, listen, Josh Allen last week may have very well got right there neck and neck with Matt Stafford in the NFL MVP race. 5 straight possessions. You heard that right. 5 straight possessions for a touchdown on the road at that New England defense. Very, very impressive performance there. But this Bills team, I will say this. with with Matt Milano being healthy at linebacker, for those of you watch you Bills fans that watch these games, Milano can make open field tackles. That's what he does. He's a guy that can stop a 3rd and short just like that, turn a 3rd and 1 into a 3rd and 3 or 4th and 3. You go for him and make you punt rather than a 1st down and potentially lose again. That's how important he is at the linebacker position. Joey Bosa, newly acquired in the offseason. Man, he is showing up in these big games. I really like what he's doing. There is a chance, I read this week, Ed Oliver may be back for the playoffs for this team. I've been hard on Sean McDermott. I think this is a make or break year for him. If they're one and done in this playoff, I do think they should fire McDermott. But they are number 4. If you look at the fact of what they've done and the way Allen's playing, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, 8 rushing touchdowns. 8. So he's responsible. We're not even done with the season for 33 total touchdowns on this team. Playing like a guy that may win it again. They could go on a Super Bowl run. Now we have no Patrick Mahomes, no Joe Burrow. A lot of experience on this team. This could be their year. That was my preseason pick, but I've been so disgusted with their run defense and continuing to run the ball, even with this lackluster receiving core. They're at number 4 in my Power 5. They make it back in. Very impressed with that road win at the New England Patriots. There is a chance they could still win the division, but the Patriots will have to lose this week, which I think they could. I want to say at Baltimore. It's a big game this week. Now, I want to say they play Miami and the Jets again. Maybe Miami can knock them out. You never know. But anyways, okay. So, number 3. Let me go to my number 3. So, you had Chicago at number 5. Buffalo at number 4. Because of all the experience with Buffalo, they could be dangerous in the playoffs. They could be dangerous here in the playoffs. I'm looking for the rest of this right now. Power 5 Part 2. Okay, Denver. I will explain here in just a second why Denver's number 3 and not higher. But anyways, Denver, like I said earlier, currently number 1 seed in the NFL, has a lot of dog in them. They're 10-1 in one-score games. Having teams making key mistakes or simply injuries. They're getting a lot of breaks this year. You know, I mentioned games like being down in games where C.J. Stroud gets injured, Michael Parsons goes down, and they take advantage of it. I mean, they come back from 19 against the Giants here, overcome 3-4 turnovers. They overcome 3 or 4. They overcome 3 or 4 turnovers in that Tennessee game. Talk about the Denver Broncos here. And number 3 in my NFL Power 5 here. But that being said, listen, I talked about Bo Nix earlier, all the comebacks he's had since he's been here. Look at this pass rush. Nick Benito, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, 24 sacks between them. Denver playing pretty well. Some would probably have them higher than 3, but I have them 3. What do you think about Bo Nix? I just said it, brother. Bo Nix is a guy that his dad's a coach. He keeps pushing. You can't be nothing but proud of a guy like that. He's a lot like Jalen Hurts. 2 guys that are underachievers in college or overachievers. They just don't have the talent. And they persevered. And they showed it. You can see it. They're made of leather. It's tough as nails mentally. Okay, but Denver, number 3 in NFL Power 5. Number 2, Houston. Listen, again, Stroud gets hurt. Houston, total control of that game. Stroud goes down with a concussion, goes into concussion protocol. Houston does lose to Denver, but listen, folks, Houston's healthy now. All right, Houston number one defense in yards, number one defense in points allowed. Right now, they are the number one defense in the NFL. There is just no doubt about it. There is no second right now. There is nobody really competing. Well, you say, well, what about Philadelphia? Well, Philadelphia's has some injuries. I mean, Jalen Carter's been banged up. But Houston playing really well. Stroud, having some chemistry. I like this Woody Marks player at running back has emerged there at running back. Love Stroud's chemistry with Nico Collins. Had 2 touchdowns last week. Also, him and I forgot that tight end's name. Means no, never mind. He's playing well. Think about it. C.J. Stroud has been to the playoffs every single year and won a playoff game that he's been in NFL. He's in year 3 right now. You look at the fact that this team is right there for the AFC South, which I want to say Jacksonville's leading, but they still have a chance to win this, all right? With that defense, if you could just keep Stroud protected, everything else will work out. This team can beat anybody. They beat Baltimore this year. They beat Kansas City this year. They should have beat Denver this year if Stroud don't go down. Okay. I think they beat Jacksonville earlier. So this team they went up to Indianapolis and beat them up there in Indianapolis. So yes, I got them right now. Number 2 team in my NFL Power 5. And, of course, number 1, most people's Power 5. Yes, the L.A. Rams got a big game tomorrow, by the way. I don't know if Davante Adams is going to play. They got to play at Seattle. This team currently is the number 1 seed in the NFC. Matthew Stafford, this is not a misprint. 37 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Second total offense, 4th in defense allowed. They got some issues there at cornerback. Listen, folks, Tampa Bay Buccaneers had some issues at cornerback in 2020, and they won the Super Bowl. Ask Tom Brady. That's what they did. So that right now, listener asked, who do you got in that Rams Seahawks? Now, listen, I will pick that game before the show starts tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, but I'm leaning Seattle because of Davante Adams. Probably won't going to play because he's got a hamstring injury. And mind you, folks, that Sam Darnold had 4 interceptions in that game. He had 4 interceptions in that game, and they were driving for the game-winning field goal. If he can play a decent game, they might be able to win at Seattle. This game's going to be played at Seattle on a short week. The Rams are coming off a big emotional game against the Lions last week. Oh, I had to play comeback. They could lose this game. They could. I still say they're the number 1 team because I do know that Davante Adams is older. He's going to come back, But right now, I would lean Seattle in that game if Darnold don't cough it up. So I don't have Seattle in Power 5 because of Darnold's turnovers. But the Rams right now, number 1 team. These 5 teams can win the Super Bowl. Okay, let's do it again. Rams, okay. Houston, Denver, okay. Number 4 would be Buffalo, and number 5 would be the Chicago Bears. That's my Power 5 here. The Bears could mess around and make it slip up and get into the NFC Championship game. I agree. I think they split their games. Yeah. So 2-point win at LA. And who thinks? I mean, I'll probably lean Seattle. That's going to be a huge game. That's an actual good Thursday game. When I get out there tomorrow, I'll definitely have my Amazon Prime on there. Okay, let's go to the college game. Got some big games this weekend. Folks, for those of you that's new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel at Ask20303. Please subscribe to the At The Real Sports channel. You can scroll down videos on my YouTube channel, and you can see my breakdown and picks for the college football playoff, which starts Friday. But a team that did not make it was Texas. I mean, hey, you can't lose at Florida. But Arch Manning is what I wanted to talk about. He announced this week, as I predicted. By the way, I predicted this in August, folks. You can go back and watch it on my channel also. That he would come back. Why? Because it would only be one starting season here for him. All right. Uncle Eli, Uncle Peyton, 4-year guys. They played 4 years in college. They started, I think, 3, but that means no, never mind. I said he would come back. He's going. Andrew Luck played the 4th year. Yeah. So the Mannings are don't to do the 4 years. All right. I said it would happen. I said even if they had success, it would happen. Listen, statistically speaking, the players with here's a few examples that only play 2 years, that only play 1 year of starting. It does not look good once you get to the NFL. A couple examples. Mitch Trubisky, 1 year at North Carolina. We saw how that worked out for the Bears. Anthony Richardson, 1 year with Florida starter. We saw how that's working out right now with the Indianapolis Colts here. So Manning, this has been the first full year. I know he had a few starts, and because I know Quinn Ewers was hurt the year before last, but still, get this second year. He started to get the speed of the game towards the end of the season. Love the way he played against Texas A&M. Love the way he played against Oklahoma. He was in some shootouts there. Played well against Vanderbilt's defense at the very end of the season. So it's very good for him. Lenore Sellers, also a few weeks ago, he's a very raw but talented, strong arm player out of South Carolina. He's also already made it be known he's going to come back next year at South Carolina. I think they had another offensive coordinator. It's 4-8. They were horrible this year. But Lenore Sellers out of South Carolina will be back. DJ Lagway, by the way, is transferred. I still got faith that he can be a star quarterback as well. Because apparently Lagway and John Summerall, they see eye to eye. That's the new Florida head coach that come from Tulane. So he's looking at potential, and I hope he don't go to Lane Kiffin at LSU, go to the Evil Empire, but he might. But he may go to LSU, or he may go to Miami and play under Mario Cristobal and do like a Carson Beck type of situation. But Dante Moore, he's only 20 years old. He's had some few starts. This will be another year. I think he should come back. But what if Oregon goes on a big run? They're going to have their receivers back. There's a potential for him and Oregon to go on a run. But my point is, look at guys like Arch Manning, Lenore Sellers, potentially Ty Simpson. This is only 1 year at Alabama. Ty Simpson, Alabama quarterback, should also come back. Think about it. Lenore Sellers, Arch Manning, Ty Simpson, Dante Moore. What a class, perhaps. What a class that the 2027 quarterback draft could have. So we talked about maybe this being the 26th coming up in April, possibly being the big air quote quarterback draft. Well, the only one I'm reading about is Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, a lock number 1 pick. So if you're Dante Moore and you're seeing that these other guys' stock is down, and say he goes win 2, I think I had him winning 2 playoff games, one of them beating Texas Tech. I also think I'm going to beat James Madison for sure. They'll beat them this weekend, but I got them beating Texas Tech. I think Indiana, I got them beating Oregon, but that means no, never mind. That would be a well of a class where we were talking about Nussmeier, whatever the name is, the guy from LSU, and Clint Kubiak from Clemson being – well, those guys, I'm reading that they're not even considered first-round prospects now. Now, maybe this happens next year where these guys have terrible years. I don't think so. Arch Manning's got way too much pedigree for that, and Lagway, and of course, maybe not Lagway, but definitely Dante Moore, if he comes back and plays at Oregon with all their talent and coaching next year. Moore, and of course, Arch, those would be really, really highly sought after players in 27 if you see those players grow from what they've been now. But that can potentially be, and Ty Simpson, there's some moments where Ty Simpson looks like a first-round rock solid. It's some big throws Ty Simpson made in the NFL. He's got NFL prospect capability with me. People say, well, he looks like he's fading out. They don't have a running game down in Alabama. It's very un-Alabama-like. It's hard to be a good passer when you know the opposition knows you're going to pass the ball, folks, okay? But you look at that draft and you throw in the fact that Jeremiah Smith, who is a lock top 5 pick next year, not unless something catastrophic happens injury-wise, the wide receiver from Ohio State, the 2027 draft looks to be a loaded draft. That don't count whoever comes out in fall of next year and balls out like nobody's business. Who the heck knew who Fernando Mendoza was in the summer of this past summer? I didn't know who. I knew who Singeti was. Remember, Indiana got to the playoff last year. I thought it was a joke. But they got my attention when they put like 56 points on Illinois, and then like a week or so later, they go up to Oregon and beat them by 10 points in Eugene. And, of course, the rest is history with the big throws he made against Ohio State, solidified him being the number 1 pick. So this is interesting. I'm glad Arch Manning, like my man says, the Mannings go 4 years. Yeah, they go 4 years. Don't rush it. Get as much snaps and experience as you can before you go to the next level. You want to be ahead. You don't want to be behind. You really don't want your quarterbacks setting that first year in the NFL, although it's ideal. You want them learning on the fly because you want to be able to milk that rookie contract. This is what the general manager is thinking, as much as possible, so you can potentially win a Super Bowl, maybe 2 on that rookie contract. Because once this player signs that second contract, then it becomes much more challenging to field a Super Bowl championship team around that quarterback. So you want them to be as ready-made as possible coming in. The NIL and the transfer portal has been a huge blessing in disguise for NFL scouts and general managers because they're getting more ready-made players. But, guys make mistakes when you're desperate for a quarterback and you take a guy like an Anthony Richardson that just happens to look like Jalen Hurts on film, but was totally much more raw once you got him in your system. Okay? All right, folks, I thought I'd be short for material, and I still ran my trap for 53 minutes. Like I said, I got stuck in traffic today for 4 hours. It felt like 4 hours. It was an hour and a half. It normally takes me about 15, 20 minutes to get home from downtown. I was stuck there for an hour and a half with some kind of wreck on Interstate 40 from downtown Nashville coming to the airport area. I dropped a Gwen Haley is a singer-songwriter out here. Dropped her off at the airport and check her out. She was really nice. On Spotify, although she did forget the tip. She needs a tip now. But anyways, all right, buddy. Appreciate you. Ask 203-303. Please subscribe to the channel, brother. Tomorrow, I'll be back here 7 Alive, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, debating the Mad New Yorker. We'll go over the 5 biggest games, and there's some big ones, including that Chicago-Green Bay game. We'll start off talking about the Seattle game, of course. And listen, there's going to be a pretty big fight on Friday night as well. Jake Paul and Josh I forgot this guy's name here. Jake Paul and Josh, what's his face? I think it's Palmer, whatever. Yeah. I do think that, we'll talk the NBA, man. Congratulations to the Knicks for winning the Anthony Joshua. Thank you, brother. Yeah, listen, Josh, he's probably going to be favored. He's a professional fighter. But listen, Paul's got a chance. Remember, was it Ruiz that knocked out Joshua a few years ago? A fat guy, Spanish fighter. If this Joshua goes in there overconfident and half-stepping, Jake Paul will knock him out. He will knock him out. So we'll talk about that tomorrow as well, the Anthony Joshua fight. Yeah, again, kudos to the Knicks. Listen, Knicks ain't won a championship since, 72, back when Phil Jackson played on the team. I know it don't mean nothing. I know Charles Barkley says it's embarrassing. But listen, it's something for the Knicks. It's something, okay? They beat a very good Spurs team that's going to potentially be a powerhouse in the years to come. The Knicks, if they can keep it up, they got a potential finals team this year. Maybe with the right breaks, maybe something happens to this powerhouse OKC team and they don't get it there. So kudos to the Knicks. We will talk more basketball, NBA, as the season goes along. Jeffrey Deskovic, good friend of mine, huge NBA fan, huge follower of the NBA. He dresses like me. He's a lawyer out of New York City. I'll bring him on at some point, and we will talk about the NBA with my man. Yes, I do love the NBA. I like this NBA that we've got right now, built on general managers and roster construction and everything. It's not about super teams. It's about trades and developing young players. Look at OKC. They're playing great. So, folks, if you like the show, share the show. I'll be back on tomorrow again, same time, same place here on The Real Sports.